And for what you say, you'll get better.
Nice. I didn't mess it up.
You did not mess it up. Your timing was good, but we still have the end of the show, so don't get caught.
I still have like a pot of alcoholic coffee still too, so actually half a pot. I really need to stop working so quickly or starting so soon. However you want to say it. Yeah.
It's bad when we get on early and start chit-chatting.
I've already had 2 cups and I'm feeling good.
Cool.
Pretty much got my first can finished as well.
Sweet. You got a couple people. Melissa's in the house twice because we see her roaming around in the background there.
That's right.
That's awesome. Got Jade kidding. All right. So tonight we got someone else in charge.
We do.
The Dave 2.0. I'll be like, what the fuck is that about? What's up, man? What's up, John?
Oh, not a whole lot. Just getting ready for the show. Where the Peter Rabbit thing I went with because as many rabbit holes as I went down for this, holy shit.
Right. We probably should say that Dave is on vacation. That's why he hasn't been here the last 2 weeks. Well, 3 weeks, right? Has it been 3 weeks?
Yeah, 1 week he was at a conference.
Yeah.
For work.
And then these past 2 weekends, he's been on a cruise. So some of a bitch is getting his tan on, his drink on. I did get a message just said something about so much alcohol, so little time. But John has been nice enough to fill in for us.
It was all spelled correctly, too, so I think he's lying.
Right. He's not a professional like me. So what are we talking about?
So yeah, this week we're going to be talking about how some pre-held beliefs and cultural things and stuff like that can change our perspective of how we view things that like evidence and research and stuff that's done, or even not just everyday life kind of things, how we view data and signs about the paranormal.
Okay.
Cool. I like it.
Yeah,
I think it's you know, that topic kind of hit me, and this is a generally, I think, kind of overlooked, maybe kind of an overlooked thing in paranormal. When you start, you know, I think we direct it with fallacies, and we try to make sure that when we talk about making errors in logic, that we often point it to ourselves. We hopefully, because that's where it honestly. Learning fallacies in logic and pointing at someone's argument and saying, well, that's incorrect. I mean, that's all fine and well, but using it on yourself is the best. You know, that's where the real, I think, value comes in when you turn that stuff on yourself and try to really learn the mistakes that you're making and errors of thought. But I think another thing that we probably get overlooked is just like, what do you bring to the table? Like, what do you bring to the table when you go on a ghost hunt? Or an investigation, or you want to try to set up an experiment? Like, what are you accidentally tripping on that you don't even see, that you probably don't even realize because you don't think about it? And I thought that was it's a great topic. I thought that was a really good idea, Mr. Rabbit.
I agree. I mean, this is a good. I mean, we've touched on this here and there, and I think we touched on it in conjunction with other topics that we've covered. And we briefly go over it, and I think we go into it a little bit, but we never just dive headfirst into that topic alone. So, yeah, when this came up, I was like, yeah, that sounds good. Let's let's get into this. Let's see what happens. So I'm game.
I'm game. Hello, Miss Donna.
Hi, Donna. All right, what do you got for us, John?
All right. Yeah. So I came up with a little bit of an opening statement. I had a different structure for the show. Again, with the rabbit holes, the structure kind of got a little fucked up. So we'll just see where it goes. But
There's no structure in the show. You're fine.
all right. But so we got beliefs and in turn culture usually go hand in hand, and they color the data and the evidence that we come across in our daily lives. So since this can affect our actions and how we treat other people and how we form our reality around us, I think this is a big topic, and it goes even further with me because we could take these events and it can be used for nefarious reasons. For instance, like people that know certain ways to get into people's minds and kind of twerk with certain words and the way things are being said. It's to me, it's a big topic. It definitely needs to be covered.
Okay.
And yep, I'm sorry. I'm freaking total mind fart.
It happens.
But it also happens. It's not always like major things like that. I also want to say it's like minor things, like innocent things as well. Like for instance, if you were to say, "Hey, doesn't that cloud look like a dragon?" You're kind of priming that person, and depending on how the things that they believe, you're moving their cognition around to fit your pre-held belief, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I'm going to expand on it if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Just like the manipulation aspect of it, because you're right. If you have various techniques to get into people's heads, it can be very subtle. It can be very simple. Just the fact that I know I've said this before, but when you have the team of bowling shirts coming into your house, it looks like there's that perceived authority where it's a team with matching shirts and they bring in the Pelican cases filled with all kinds of gadgets and they look professional. They look like they're scientific, they're a team, and there's that perceived authority. Even if there's not any authority, it's still perceived that way by someone that is, for lack of a better term, more ignorant about what's going on. And that's not an insult of bowling. It's not an insult saying that they're ignorant. It's the meaning of they don't understand what's going on. They don't have the proper knowledge to understand what's going on. So they call somebody that they believe has the knowledge behind what's going on. And that alone, that already starts the manipulation. And it may not be intentional, but it's there. So now every time they say something, this team says something like, "Oh my goodness, I saw a dark figure in the corner," that's perceived as maybe something evil. And that's really going into what this topic is. How they're perceiving it and then how they relate that perception to someone else and how they perceive it. I mean, that's layers. We're talking like this is an ogre. Many layers of the onion there. But go ahead, continue, John. Or Tim, you got something?
I want to add on to. I think that's perfect. I think that's a great example, and not only that, but you also have the people that come in with titles, and I'm a paranormalist, demonologist, whatever you want to say. Like, I mean, people come in the titles, not only just titles, but just I'm the tech specialist, so I know all this equipment, I know how it works, and if something beeps, it's me to determine what it is, and right. I'm the one that's going to tell you what it is. And I think even outside of the paranormal, I think just in regular everyday life, you can see this. I think this is not something that hasn't been tested in a psychological class, and probably an undergrad
Wow.
class. Yeah.
What kind of class did you go into there, Tim?
I can't tell you. I'd have to. Undergrad class. I mean, this is pretty. I think it's something. It's not the Hawthorne effect. That's what happens when the subject knows they're being watched. But it's just it's the perception. Effect? Yeah, it's the perception of authority, and that when that happens, especially if you're confronted with several people, again, just like you said, matching uniforms, matching shirts. Not only that, but you begin. There's a potential that you'll have a less than willingness, maybe for lack of a better word, to question their authority or to question them. Like, well, I heard you say that black figure must be evil. Tell me why it's evil. Tell me how you got there, because you don't want to put yourself, or maybe the person might not want to put themselves in the position of looking like they're challenging that authority when maybe they can't back it up. But I think it's a valid question. So I think that's great. And I am writing down a question that for Kenny's already made me get my notebook out.
You did the same thing. You mentioned something, and I was like, "Oh, I'm writing that down because I'm going to bring that up. Not only am I going to study it later, but I'm going to bring it up later in the conversation because it fits in really good." All right.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Rabbit.
Here's another thing for you guys to consider. In susceptibility to things like, and I can't remember the name of it, but the pareidolia.
Pareidolia,
yeah, and people being able to say, like, take a picture of nothing at all, like completely black, from a Polaroid, and shake it up, has nothing on it, and you write at the bottom, "Who do you see?" or "Do you see me?" or something along those lines, and then leave it in a attic when you sell the house. Somebody else comes across it, and even though there's nothing there, now they're looking for something.
Right.
So there's also that comes into play as well.
There's a good last weekend before, I was at a conference, and I don't know if I mentioned this last week, but a woman came up to me and asked how she could get rid of a Ouija board, because her daughter had just moved into a house, and when they went into the attic, they found one in the attic and it was burned. So she wanted to know how to get rid of it. And my first answer was, throw it in the trash. If you really want to get rid of it, throw it in the trash. And she's like, no, they don't want it to haunt anyone else. They had these preconceived notions already that you can't get rid of it. It will come back, and they need to give it to somebody. So I gave her my card and said, send it to me. I'll take it, and I'll throw it in the trash because it'll just go in the trash. But that goes along. That's the idea where that goes along with your Polaroid story. It was found in the attic, and they already had this idea now where it's their belief that you can't just get rid of it, that there has to be some kind of procedure that has to be followed, or some kind of method that has to be followed in order to properly dispose of it so it won't come back. And that's the superstition around it. And I mean, it's fascinating. I hope I get it, because that'll be cool to display a burned board. Maybe I'll burn it more. Maybe I'll do a video showing, yes, you can burn these things. So, but yeah, that's
a pretty good idea. I like that, doing a video where you can burn it.
Yeah. Maybe I'll do a whole video on the history of the Ouija board, and then the finale will be light them up.
Light them up. Burn
go.
it. It will not come back. We promise. Throw it in the trash. Unless you have a really smart, if you have someone that is working for the sanitation department that sees that you threw away a Ouija board, and they take it out and put it on your front porch, so it looks like it popped back up, and you're like,
Right.
So we want to continue, or we want to hit some of these questions, because they look like they're
Ready for the questions for a second?
Here we go. Let's do some questions. I think JD meant to say, what if they're not matching?
What if they're matching T-shirts? So yeah, usually it is matching T-shirts.
Mm-hmm.
And So we can do both. We can comment on both ways. If they're matching T-shirts and come in, they have that perceived authority because everybody matches. It's a uniform. That's basically what we're talking about here. I make the joke about bowling shirts because that's what was asked of me way back when I had a ghost hunting team, and we did a ghost hunt, and then we went to a diner afterwards, and the waitress came up and asked if we were on a bowling team. They were all the polo shirts. We had not T-shirts, we had polo dress shirts. So yeah, she asked if we were on a bowling team, and that's been a joke ever since. But whether they do or don't, does it hurt credibility? No, I don't think so. I mean, I'll say on my end, when I show up, I used to show up in just whatever, like the ghost hunting T-shirt and shorts or jeans, depending on the weather. I didn't really take any interest, but now I actually show up dressed up. You know, I dress in nice jeans or pants, like not suit pants, but dress pants, like Dickies or something like that.
Sure,
and,
khakis, something.
Yeah,
yeah,
and a polo shirt or even a dress shirt if I have one that's nice and not too starchy. But I show up nice because I'm making a presentation. You know, I'm going in there as a professional, so I want to look good. I don't want to look like the ghost hunters on TV. You know, to me, this is more of a job than a hobby. So if I'm going to take the time to actually show up at your house, I'm going to look nice and presentable. I'm not going to show up just like off the street. So that's just me, though. So comment.
I literally had the jacket, the vest from the photographer's vest, but I didn't have photography equipment in it. I had like batteries and EMF meter and more batteries and then more batteries and recorders and that's pretty much. That's pretty much. I just showed up like that. Yeah,
I did the same thing.
When I showed up, yeah, I had that vest on. I meant business. I was catching a ghost no matter what.
Yeah,
but I think probably coming in with everybody matching, I think that probably would present a perception of authority, or at least a perception of that they know what they're doing because they're attempting to at least look like they're professional. By matching all together like you're an organization. I think that's one thing. If they don't match, I think probably it might not be so much as a visual reference to a position authority, but maybe just, there's still, I'm honestly, like, I'm kind of reflecting back on how we used to do it. And that was, we would introduce ourselves, what our roles were and what we were going to do. And we would have the Pelican cases and we would set up all this equipment and the people would ask a question and we would do our best to answer, even though we really didn't also know what we were doing. But, and you defended that stance. So I think either way, you're going to end up, whether you want to or not, having a position of authority when you go in.
Right.
All right. Here, this one. All right. JD is on fire. Look what he did. Can you imagine a scenario where being like, do you know who I am? I'm Tim fucking Vickers, or I am Kenny fucking Biddle. We're paranormal investigators. I can't imagine a scenario where I would ever say that in my life, but I think I understand where you're going.
I don't. I agree. There's not. That is an ego, to me. That's too much of an ego, and you think way too highly of yourself. That's not to say, to be fair, that's not to say sometimes in my head when not that I would never say my name like that, but I have thought like, didn't I just fucking explain what I do? And you're gonna try and pull that in front of me? Yeah. Like the seance guy, when I went up to the Hinsdale house and I took video of him cheating, like we discussed it the whole time. He knew I was there. He knew I was skeptical. He knew I investigated stuff from that skeptical point of view. And you're going to do that in front of me when you see me taking video? Like, that's just dumb, I think. I mean, and it's not an ego thing. It's just like, you don't do it in front of someone that's going to scrutinize the shit out of you. So if there's a scenario, I would not say do you know who I am? That to me, that's very egotistic. And I'm not like that. I'd rather just sit in the corner and watch and then rip you apart later. But yeah, I wouldn't do that.
Fair enough.
All right, John.
All right.
I love your shirt, by the way.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
You've gotten
the show.
Nice.
you've gotten a couple compliments on it in the chat. If you haven't,
Oh,
if you
thank
if
you,
you
guys.
missed, yep.
So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and switch to the belief in the paranormal and how it correlates to certain things like certain types of psychology, adaptive functions. Because I didn't want to come into this. There's one side is better than the other kind of thing. It just here's what the studies found, and we'll get into the more positive sides later. But here, what they came to find that the biggest correlations or biggest correlates were, and this is all negative and positive. It's the correlates: anxiety, locus of control, susceptibility to suggestion, imagery, fantasy proneness, critical thinking, religiosity, and creativity. And then some of the cognitive factors were thinking style and executive function. So I'm just curious to see how your guys' thoughts on how this relates to how we view the signs and shit that we see from whatever, how you guys would address this type of thing. For instance, one of mine, locus control. So locus control is where the control of situations lie for you. For instance, being an atheist and skeptic, my locus of control is obviously myself. It's internal. I control, my thoughts and what goes around me. However, more the people that have the more magical type of power thinking, their locus of control is more external, and they just react to things that happen. It's not, they don't control that. So, I'm just curious what your thoughts on how that would affect these things.
I'm not sure about that. Actually wrote that down because it's a new word for me. So I wrote that down. I want to look at it. But when you mentioned anxiety and probably the belief, or at least a belief, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, in turning into if you have an event in your life, you have an experience that you can't explain, and you kind of tend to attribute it to a paranormal event or something. I understand, at least with anxiety. Something that I like a lot is the fear, and how our body naturally responds to fear, and how emotionally and psychologically we respond to fear. Physically, we have a lot of really cool shit that happens to our body when we think we're in trouble, and it is really actually very fascinating. And one of the things that I found when we were getting ready for, we had an idea for a show about this, was a startle response. And that's a loud bang, loud noise, something that would make a noise that would give you a fright. But just with a loud noise, something that startles you, it actually kicks off a lot of things that happen in your body. I can't remember them all right now, but it starts the fight or flight. And once you begin that, you begin to make, and Dave's going to get really upset with me if I get this wrong, but you make false positives, I think, in your surroundings. So now you are primed, you are ready to fight, flight, or freeze, and you are primed to look in your environment for whatever it is that might be a potential threat. Oh, excuse me. So rather than making a mistake at this point while you're under that, say you see something in the corner, you might, in a non-hostile environment, or while your body's not doing that, you might just say, that's nothing. But your body in this was going to say, that's probably a threat. And if you don't know what it is, you're going to identify that threat. And I also believe that coming up with a paranormal way to explain things in positions like this is a way to gain control of your environment. So if you don't know what's going on, you assign something that you think you can control, or you think that you can explain since you can't explain it. So you don't know what's going on. You're in a fear environment. You give it a name. You call it a ghost, and you run like hell. And then you have a great story to tell all your friends when you broke into that house. You weren't supposed to be there anyway. Do an investigation.
Nice way to summon that up. That's good. I agree. And I like where you were going with that, because the fear response, you had the fight or flight response when you're scared, when you're startled. It's usually involuntary. You don't think about it, you just do. And you can think about all these factors come into play, especially if you're at say you're at a place like an abandoned hospital. What's that big one? Crap. It's in Louisville.
Waverly Hills.
Waverly Hills, yes.
Yeah, been there.
So say you're there. I've been there too. Twice. One, not legally. But anyway, so I was there. Say you're there. There's no power. There's no lights. It's in the dark. You know the reputation. You can't help but know the reputation of it, and you are already primed going in. And now you're in this environment where everything's dark. You cannot see, and it's kind of scary, And so if you hear a noise down the end of the hall, it comes into that the evolutionary trait where it's like, well, is that a danger? Do I run? Do I stand my ground and fight? And there's a lot of automatic responses, at least that I've seen, where people freeze. They freeze from fear because they don't know what to do. And the threat is not immediate, as in it's not in the immediate area. So it's not like, a demon's actively jumping towards you like in a movie. You hear that sound or see that shadow down the end of the hall, and you freeze for a second. And then other people will freak out and run. But it's involuntary, and it's based on all these contextual cues, these visual cues, the imagery that you were bringing up, John. I mean, a lot of these, and the creativity. I think a lot of people that are fantasy prone, that fall under that category, have a lot of creativity. They have a lot of imagination, and that will run away with them. They will hear that noise, and that noise creates an entire story in their head within seconds. It's not just a noise. It is a big, dark, ugly creature from hell that has risen through a portal and is clawing its way up the stairs to devour your soul. And you think about that in a split second, and that's what causes the fight or flight reaction. So, and this is all based on our beliefs. It really comes back to the topic that we're talking about today, is that most people that are going to these places like Waverly Hills or something else, and I'm not picking on Waverly Hills. I don't want them to think I'm picking on them.
I had a really good time there.
Yeah, I loved it. But when they go there, they are already, for the most part, they are believers. There's very few people that go there and just do not believe. At least from my observations, they do not believe in anything. They're very skeptical of stuff. No, they are believers in the paranormal. They believe the place is haunted. They believe ghosts not only exist, but can physically interact with you and the environment, and therefore they are taking a chance going in there. So they are hyped up. The anxiety level is high already going in, and then when they prime them with the stories beforehand, and as you go along, that just raises the stakes. So I think a lot of the stuff that you mentioned, John, and then piggybacking off what you said, Tim, comes into play with all of this. So there you go. I'm good.
Yeah.
Send my piece.
Send your piece.
Got a drink.
Yeah, so on top of what you had said, Kenny, with like the storytelling, that's another big thing. You think back before we had as much ways to test things, a scientific method, before we had that really be an instrumental part of everyday life. We didn't have ways to explain things, and a lot of people, the fact that we need to find a way to make sense of the world around us, that we've made up stories, and the stories have been passed along and edited and all this other stuff along the way, and sometimes it's things like so and so walked on water, um, and explaining it to somebody else that has the same magical type of thinking, the same lower level of yep, there it went.
Brain fart.
Yep, brain fart. A lot of those tonight.
The
But
hot seat will do that to you. So
yeah,
don't worry
Yep,
about it.
yep. The hot
We all
seat
go
does
through
it.
it.
This is why Kenny and I and Dave were all like, "Woo! I'm not next week." We get to like breeze in. So
I totally understand why now. But and what to go on to the next part I was actually trying to get into. There is the positive things as well. Like one of the studies found out that the adaptive functioning from being able to have these certain traits is like at times of brevity, like the loss of a loved one or something, when you're really looking for something to explain why things happened the way they did, and the meaning of it all. So times when we're looking for shit like that, some kind of comfort, it's been known to really like pull at you there, and that goes into the whole emotional aspect of what we're talking about here with psychology and how it affects how we view the paranormal. Is, are we really looking at this through an accurate analytical lens, or are we looking at it through the lens of our emotions and wanting something to be true or not?
I think I'm going to take a stab at this, but I think an example might be of what an example of what you're talking about might be when we lose a loved one and we are mourning. We're in the mourning process, and we start to interpret vague and random signs or experiences as signs of communication. Of, oh, that's my Aunt Tilly coming back to let me know she's okay. And some people, like a common thing, and I had a great conversation about this over the last week. Pennies, butterflies, these are stuff that our generation have used with our grandparents, and our parents, that means something. But it's a very widespread blanket there where you can say that and interpret it. You see a butterfly and you think, oh, maybe that's my father, my mother, my grandmother, giving me a sign that she's still here. Seeing a penny on the street, same thing. Like they both pennies mean more to me with my grandparents, and butterflies mean more to like my wife with her mother. So these are little signs that we might interpret. And when it's on a personal level, I don't want anyone thinking like I'm knocking this. I'm not. On a
right,
personal level, if that makes you feel good, by all means, enjoy it and
yes,
savor it. Um, but these are things that fall into our beliefs. We have these beliefs and we interpret these experiences as such. Uh, some people might hear footsteps in their house, a day or so after a loved one has passed, but they ignore the fact that they may have heard those footsteps many, many times before that. But this time, maybe because they're up late, because they are mourning, they hear them and they're more clear, and they think, oh, well, maybe that's my father, coming by for a last visit. So I can understand those, and those examples I've seen many times. I've I don't want to say fall victim to them, but I believed them at one time as well. Now I'm more satisfied just remembering the good times that I've had with people that have passed away. So, but I think is that where you were kind of going with that?
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, the butterfly was really interesting. You said that. I for a second I was like, I wonder if this is like an Appalachian thing, but it sounds like if it's all the way across. But butterflies were always, and it's not just. I don't think with us growing up, it wasn't just a butterfly that was out in the yard, and someone would say, it's like you said, it's the coincidental thing. It's the random butterfly that comes in and lands on you while you're outside on the porch. Then it's like it's not a possibility that a butterfly could have come and landed on you while you're out on the porch, but instead it's somebody coming back. I'm not gonna lie. I guess for even to this day, when my wife and I first got married, we got a copper-nosed beagle, and he loved chasing butterflies. He was shit at it and couldn't catch them, but he just had a really good time. And he passed away, years later, and it's just been a thing. I don't think it's my dog that's come back, but it's going back to what you said. Sometimes it's just a nice. I don't even know if it's cultural or tradition, but it's something that my wife and I will think of our. That was our first attempt at a kid. It was a dog. It was kind of like one of those things, and that was our kid for a long time before we actually had kids.
I think it's more like a trigger. It's a trigger rather than a sign. It triggers a memory.
Triggers a memory. It makes us feel good, so we talk, and it just brings back that good feeling, the memory of our dog, and how we really enjoyed the pup, how much we loved him, and like I said, and again, just like you, I really want to say, like, if this is something that you believe, then I'll you feel. Have at it. I don't want to just
have at it.
I don't want to. I'm not saying that if you believe this and this brings you comfort, to not, because that's for you, and that's you. And if that brings you comfort and joy, then by all means, for us it kind of does. I guess you could say it kind of does for us too, because it just brings us back to the memory of our first dog.
Right.
And it's typically it's a butterfly. So
yeah, cool. What else you got, John?
So my cat. Did you hear it? My cat's like a regular now on the show. Oh God.
That should be your other cam, is a cat cam.
I guess
that's a good one. Cat cam.
Cat cam.
So I was wondering if you guys, we'll go down to Tim first. Hopefully this is where you guys are going. But did you guys come up with any information about how any kind of measures of things that correlate with paranormal beliefs, psychological? Yeah, I'll give some examples. For instance, this study I came across in this, there's a couple with some really good information that I totally got. That was one of the rabbit holes I got lost on. But so the people, I guess what I'm trying to get at is what populations do you guys think hold the most people that are prone to paranormal beliefs?
That's a great question.
Thank you.
What population would I think would have the greatest belief in the paranormal? I don't know.
Do you mean like nation-wise or like group? That's a difficult thing. I haven't looked at any stats or anything like that, but there's so many cultures across the globe that have various beliefs. You can find different versions of ghosts and demons, and not even demons, evil spirits or good spirits or helpful spirits or free spirits in every culture. We in America, we just have a blend of different cultures. So you can go to different parts of the country and, and experience different things. But as for which one might have the most, I don't know. I mean, to be honest, there's a lot of dumb white people that I hang out with that just, we have so many like weird and wild beliefs, and we just make shit up as we go and adopt other beliefs in other cultures and stuff. So I have no idea how to actually answer that question. But Tim, you got anything to save me here?
Yeah, no, I remember we've had a similar conversation. I don't know if it was a topic, but just a similar conversation. And one of the papers I found, and I was typing it up to look for, was childhood trauma and the belief in the paranormal. There are papers suggesting that there is a positive link to that. And let's see, I got childhood trauma and the development of the paranormal beliefs. It was published in March of 2014. So, yeah, but it's just saying without having to download it and print it and bring it back up. Yeah, they see a definite positive correlation between the population of children or growing up in an abusive relationship or in an abusive household. It's a significant correlation. I think this was one of the ones I read. It's pretty interesting. I want to say that without going into the paper, and I want to definitely preface this with, this is not my findings. It's just the best that I can remember how the paper ended was it was all about control and gaining control in your life. So it's a way to gain all kinds of control in all aspects. So if you could imagine growing up in a very abusive household, or if you were in an abusive relationship, you have a loss of control, and getting out, recovering, surviving, you have a tendency, well, according to the paper, there was a tendency that you, in all aspects of your life, have a need to protect and control and regain control. And that includes things that you don't know or you don't understand. And if you are in a paranormal environment or you have paranormal events going on that you can't explain, typically, instead of just saying, I don't know what that is, I'm going to let it go. My doors are locked. It's not a burglar. My dogs aren't barking, so it must be the house or something. But you typically will see that they will go to, it is a ghost, it's something else that's going on, and will go into that direction so that they have a name for it other than I just don't know. They have something they can say that it is. They can possibly work on controlling it, helping it cross, helping it pass in that situation. What I'll do is I'll link this. I don't think I'll get in trouble for linking this.
No, you shouldn't.
I'll put it in the chat room.
There you go. It's interesting how you phrase that, because the more I think about several of like the high-profile alleged poltergeist cases have come from such homes where the child, which is the center of attention, if you will, the focus of the poltergeist activity, comes from a home that's either very poor or it's an abusive home where they have lost control. And this is done, something is done to garner attention, to exhibit or exercise some kind of freedom, some rebelling of authority, where if it's an abusive home, then, and I'm actually studying a case now, but I'm not going to reveal any details because I'm going to write something up about it. But basically, it was a very strict foster home that many rules, really restrictive rules, and corporal punishment was in common use. So when I think a lot of the alleged activity was lashing out more than anything else. So there's that. It actually goes pretty good with this show, this topic, because the belief is that there's one belief where a child, a young child or a teenager, couldn't possibly fool adults. into, with tricks or anything like that. They're definitely not possible. And piggybacking on that in these situations is, well, if the kid's not doing it because we don't think they can fool us, it must be something supernatural. It must be something. It must be a ghost or the devil or something infested our house, and that is usually when it explodes. Especially if you're living in the 1970s, it really explodes. 70s, 80s, stuff like that. It really blows up. So, but going off of that was just piggybacking off what you were saying, Tim, with the behavior and abusive relationship kind of stuff. So I just wanted to touch on that. I think that was, it really plays into what we're talking about here. Cool.
Let me get a question from JDN. Okay. We went down the list. I want to make sure I'm not missing any. This one was from quite a while ago about the ego. So let me get this. Have either of you three ever seen someone pull an ego card? Yes. Oh, yeah. Whew.
The reason we're here. Yeah. If you've ever followed our when we talk about our origin story, the reason we're here is exactly because of that.
That was a big one.
So that's a big one. But I've also seen, I have been on either at events and or ghost hunts where that has come up, where I may have questioned something that came up, and I was told, "Do you know who I am? I'm so and so," and usually, and it's not being a dick, although I do admit that I deliver it in a very sarcastic, dark, sarcastic manner. Like, I don't know who you are. Who's that? Like, am I supposed to know who you are? That name, I don't recognize that. Who is that? And but yeah, you see it a lot, and it's because I think, at least in my experience, a lot of the almost power celebs, so the wannabe power celebs that are not there yet, but they continue to go to all the famous places, and they may have written a really shitty book with bad grammar. They are out there and they show up at conventions and they want you to know who they are, so they always say their name and they name drop every frickin' person they've ever met with or every place that they've ever gone to, and there's that big ego there, and it's like I've known there's at least two people that I know, one of which I nicknamed Schmedium, who introduces himself all the time by his first and last name. He will not say just, "Hey, I'm first name." He says, "Oh, I'm so and so. Oh, I'm so and those." And every time he mentions himself, he has to say both names. So that's, to me, that's really big ego, and it's annoying as fuck. But all right.
I think my very first contact with someone with a lot of ego was my very first block on social media, which was fantastic. It was I was shocked at how wonderful it felt to get blocked. But very basic, just so you, person was doing an interview in an alleged haunted location with the owner of this place. And during the filming, while he was setting up and it was just going on, a battery exploded in an electrical device. And it carried on and on and on about, the anger of the anger that these entities were having because they're interviewing about them and they're giving out information and they're talking about these ghosts and anger. Well, I was actually pretty interested in that, so I just happened to Google. I just went to Google and said, "Do batteries explode in devices?" And it was like, yes, it is not that uncommon. It does happen. So I just linked this article and put it on his social media. I was like, "Hey, did you consider this?" Like, honestly, like I was not right. Like I thought we were going to have an exchange of ideas here. And I posted that on his social media, which probably was I guess not the best thing to do, but I gave a perfectly good explanation of why you would probably have something explode inside of an electrical device. and immediately I was just I was blocked. It was fantastic. I was so glad. I wish I would have taken a screenshot, but I didn't. But I think that type of ego where they wouldn't even entertain that there might be another reason other than these entities that this person was alleging was the reason. Yeah, it was really fun, and I really like it. And now there's a verb named after me.
See, you're a paraslip.
Uh-huh,
You got Vickard. Yes.
I get Vickard a lot, so I have to work on my technique of engaging.
Cool.
So yeah, about the ego, I think if I were to draw one that I seen have the most experience with, I'm going back to talking about Tim with the children. Mine had more to do with like authority figures, parents, and the church. And it was always if you went to them, they have this ego that I get my answers from God. So you as a child, you don't know the facts, the truth, or whatever. And again, this is my own personal experience, but yeah, there was a lot of the higher up, the closer they are with God, the bigger the ego that they had, and it was a fucked up thing. So, but yeah,
I mean, like the more they thought they had the holy power behind them, more righteous they were.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. I've been there. I've been down that road several times, with family, too, where it's come up, and it's difficult to address. It's difficult to counter because if you're dealing with family, it's much harder, but has bigger consequences. It's much easier to be a dick, but it's bigger consequences when you are, because it's family. You can speak more freely sometimes, and then you get the repercussions from that when you do speak your mind freely. I know there's many times when we probably heard our family talk, maybe in, I don't know, Thanksgiving. That's like the big argument holiday of the year, because everyone gets together and politics comes up, and religion comes up, and all kinds of things eventually come up, and there's arguments. So yeah, in my experience, and I'm only going to speak from my experience, when I've dealt with family and or friends or just acquaintances that have the holier than thou attitude, or ego, as were the case, it's very very selfish. I would say it's a very selfish attitude, because it's not something you can prove. It's just like it's what is it? What am I searching for here? It's almost like I pray every day. I go to church every day. I do this. I give, and I'm close to God. Therefore, I'm interpreting everything correctly. When I read the Bible and I'm saying that you're wrong, and I'm totally going to go out on a limb here, but like your lifestyle is wrong because the Bible says it's wrong, and I'm close to the Bible, so therefore you're wrong. I think that's bullshit. I think that's someone needs to check their ego at the door, and also read a little bit more, and be open, and stop being scared of a imaginary friend from thousands of years ago. That's just my personal opinion.
Odin?
Oh,
which one? Which of the
yes.
Which of the 2000 are we talking about?
Sorry, the generic one.
The generic, okay.
The generic one.
I gotta address this. Hold on, Bob's throwing fists at me. So okay, so yes, I guess to answer the question, everybody has an ego. However, I didn't coin Vickard. Actually, Dave and Kenny both.
Yeah,
did, so
we did that for him.
Yeah.
If he would have done it himself, then yes, it would have been an ego. But we did it for him. We took it and ran.
Yeah.
And it is. Oh, I got to make a shirt. Don't fuck with me. You're gonna get bickered.
Yep.
No one's gonna know what it means except people that watch this show.
That's right. Hold on.
Great.
We got another one.
All right.
JD. How would you all respond? Y'all, he's speaking my language. How would y'all respond to a hypothetical counter that the beliefs and cultural baggage that come from being skeptics, prejudices? Ooh, yeah, the coffee's kicking. Prejudices you against the paranormal. I like this question a lot because I think it's very important. And if I would actually, in my notes, I have, if I would have not seen this question, I would have brought it up. So I appreciate it, JD.
Yeah.
Because this is actually an important question.
I have it too. Skeptical viewpoint and opinion. So yeah.
Yeah. So
go ahead, Tim. Keep going.
Okay.
You first.
I absolutely. I think going back to when we were talking about how when we like and read logical fallacies and errors in logic, again, it's easy. Excuse me. It's easy to point those things at somebody else, but it's very difficult to point it back at yourself. However, that's where the value is. I think the value in learning that stuff is how you change your own behavior. Hold on just a minute. You got me all choked up. Sorry.
Wow.
It's the coffee. It's good.
Yeah.
The value and I think the value in the actual what you can gain is from how you do it yourself. I think as well how you allow yourself to be questioned by other people, especially other ones that you trust. I think going back, I really enjoy Dave and Kenny. Because if you could just see the back conversations, there's sometimes it's just like, well, that's bullshit. So, and you just have to go, what the fuck? Why? And we just, but not only taking the criticism, but understanding that the criticism isn't personal, that we're discussing. So, I don't see how, one could say if you're a skeptic that you don't bring anything that has any errors or logical fallacies to the table, because you just do as a human being. You do just as a normal thinking, walking human being. You're a meat sack with a brain, with a bunch of sensors all over your body that brings in information from the environment around you, and you got to figure out what the fuck's going on. And sometimes you do it right, sometimes you do it wrong. Sometimes you get it close, and sometimes you get superstitions because you get it really wrong, but for some reason whatever you do keeps working. I think having open communication with people that can tell you when you're wrong is very important. I think allowing yourself to let somebody come in and tell you, or at least challenge and have a really honest discussion. But yeah, I have no question, I have no qualms with anybody saying because you're a skeptic doesn't make you correct in anything. And but I think that across the board, no matter who or what topic or genre of person or their beliefs or who they are, what they do for a living, I don't think anybody escapes ever the possibility of making huge errors and minor errors. And it doesn't mean that they escape the rewards of making correct decisions and judgments as well. I think it's just people. We're just people. We're just animals. That's it.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I go right off of that. I mean, I know that there's, I think, all right, let me set this up here. Yes, there is baggage. I acknowledge that. So when this counter comes up, and it does often, it really does. I can't tell you how many times, like the blunt approach is, you're just a skeptic. You don't believe anything, like something like that comes up. But I acknowledge that I do have my own beliefs or non-beliefs. I have my own ideas. I don't like beliefs. I don't like the word beliefs in general. I like ideas better. And if you want to know what I mean by that, watch the movie Dogma. It explains it perfectly. But I have my own ideas, and yes, they do create biases. But I think the difference is that I will sit back and watch or look at what I said or I guess when I do like an article, when I write up an article, I'm looking at my article, rereading it and going, what am I doing here that might be biased in my favor? Like, what am I doing that's too skeptical or cynical because I just don't want it to be? And I guess over the years, I've trained myself to look at it. And even if I find information that counters what I thought was happening, I include that, which you should. You really should. If you're going in one direction and it turns out to be something else, you definitely should acknowledge that. So I don't have any problem saying, yes, I have some biases sometimes, but I do try to acknowledge those and work around them. And I think I've done a pretty good job at showing. I hope so. I hope I'm not looking like I have a big ego here, but I hope over the years I've shown that I'm working around those biases and at least acknowledging them. Like, yes, I thought it was this at one point, but I found information to counter what I thought it was. And I think that's really important to showcase because it's showing like I was wrong. The shameless self-plug is when I did the last video about revisiting the Xbox Kinect. And there was a gentleman that was on YouTube creating these stick figures that were walking around like people, which I didn't think was possible. And along the video, I thought it was done one way, and you see me building up to that, and then I realized it was a different way. So I acknowledge my mistake and say, look, I thought I tunnel vision to this, but I found out through experimenting, and you see it along the way. Like, we experimented, we figured it out. It's this way, and by the end of the video, it's done perfect. It's a perfect recreation. So it showed my mistakes. It showed my biases, and that I overcame them. So, I mean, I guess the short answer to answer your question, I have no problem with it, and I explain what I do. So there you go. Good question, JD. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, we are at an hour. Do you gentlemen want to take a short break?
Yeah.
Come
I
back?
gotta fill up.
Hit up anything? Yep.
Yeah. We'll
All right, hold on. Let me make sure I get this
Don't fuck
right.
this up.
I will probably fuck it up. Let's see. The longest one, 2 minutes and 27 seconds. I even have it labeled break.
He's gotta extend it. I'm used to that extra 30 seconds. All right.
Okay, here we
ready.
go. See ya. For a second there, I didn't think it was going to come back on. I was like, oh, I fucked it up. I did. I did something wrong.
Oh shit!
Whew.
All
I
right.
had to run downstairs. Excuse me. I'm old and fat. So. Made it.
All right.
All right. Let's
Yeah, I
see.
did want to real quick before you guys move on from JD's question.
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah, the whole skeptical, the baggage that comes along with it. You guys were pretty on point with what I would have said. There is a lot of, well, you just don't believe because you're a skeptic, and it's like it's hard to explain to somebody that's inside of that belief structure that they're just the skeptic. They're quote unquote just a skeptic. It's hard. It seems to be harder to get to those types of people, but I mean, I kind of hope the way that what happened with me was hearing enough questions and just looking for it myself, and I kind of came to the conclusion that the scientific method is our best way to get there. And I know we have biases, but that's a part of what the scientific method does. It checks those biases from other people because everybody has biases, and it's hard sometimes. Depending on, like with privilege, for instance, sometimes it's hard to even step out of those or realize those biases. So, it just to me it seemed like the scientific method of doing things was the best way to get to the truth for me.
Yeah, sometimes not even the truth, just at least the next step towards the truth. I mean, I'm pretty sure like people are going to try to do it and replicate it and peer review later on. Someone might challenge something new later on. It's really interesting how things can be believed to be correct for a long time and then go, oh shit, we were wrong. And that's part of it. I think it's just part of it. It's not a problem. I usually get hit with the science isn't always right, and I'm like, yes,
Duh.
exactly. Welcome, welcome. You've cracked the first book. You've got fantastic. Nobody says that it's always right, and it knows it's not right, and that's why it keeps going. You've got it. And if you have an idea, or if you don't think something's right, then you have to look at it. You have to, you have to show why it's not right, and come up with another way to show what is right. Just by saying, I don't believe it's right, and I think in my own beliefs that this should be right, is not good enough. You have to do something. You just can't. We can have discussions of why you don't think it's right, and I think that's very healthy. Not a problem. It's very healthy to always discussions about ghosts, Bigfoot, aliens. I love it. I think that's very healthy because I think that spawns interest. It spawns ideas. But when you say ghosts don't exist and ghosts do exist, those two different statements, and it's harder to. I can't say ghosts don't exist, but I find it easier if someone says that ghosts do exist to question and say, well, please tell me how you know that. I would love for ghosts to be real. It'd be cool as shit.
Right.
But at least show me something.
Yeah, I think the main thing with us is like we're not, even though I joke around and say, ghosts aren't real. I mean, that's more of a joke. My on record idea is that I don't know if they do.
I don't know.
That's it. That's where I'm at. So I'm not making a claim that they don't exist. I'm not making a claim that they do. So we are questioning when people do make the claim with confidence, oftentimes, that they are in fact real. And they have absolutely seen them, and they have absolute proof that they are real. So that's where the questioning comes in, and it's that reversal of the proof is on the claimant. Like we don't have to prove it. We don't have to prove they don't exist or do. If you're making the claim, the burden of proof is on you. So there's the cat.
There's the cat.
There's the cat.
But just so you know, her name is Squatchy. Named
Squatchy?
after Sasquatch.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I like that name.
Because you rarely see her. She's really good. She's a good hider. She's a good hunter.
And I agree with Bob's statement. Yeah, there are biases in science. I mean, you can perform an experiment, and like he said, you can perform or design it. If you're doing especially if you're doing a simple experiment, it's pretty much you're designing it from your perspective. You're interpreting the results from your perspective, and that's why I think double and triple blind studies are so important. Because and replication is so important because you're getting other input. You're getting other people that are doing the same thing under your conditions, pointing out the flaws, and recreating to see if they get similar results. So I think it's really important to continue with that and not just be satisfied with my little experiment. Like our little experiments, when we do them, they are totally informal little experiments and not meant to shift paradigms. It's not gonna happen with what we're doing, but hopefully it works one day. We'll see. But yeah, I'm good with that question.
Hey, Bob's question next up is looks like it's really a big question. So here we go. You ready? Based on the study Tim was talking about, I think that's the childhood trauma one. And again, I was looking at the abstract, so I'm not sure how it's going to pan out with the abstract. If you guys had clicked on it to look at it for yourself, it just shows that there is a strong correlation of childhood trauma and belief in the paranormal. But do you think people would go in the opposite direction if someone is coming from religious abuse, like conversion therapy or what Native American children went through with the Catholic Church? In other words, they wouldn't have a belief in the paranormal. I'm not sure because I don't know with the paper if they identify any type of abuse. And what I mean by that, if they break it down into a religious or a neglect or physical or sexual or anything else like that, I'm not sure how they break it down, but I kind of think if they would just say the childhood trauma, I don't know if it would still, regardless if they receive trauma through any one of the two that you're pointing at, would still, according to the paper, which I don't have access to, so I'm just saying that. I keep saying that just to make sure I'm not quoting the paper, so I don't want to get it wrong or misrepresent it. I don't know if the type of trauma would matter, or if they go into it and actually say, well, there are different types of trauma that you can have different reactions to, which also to me, just on the off the cuff, would seem reasonable. But I don't know.
This is a big topic. And
it is a big topic.
I want to preface my answer by saying I am nowhere near qualified to talk about this. But I'm going to talk about it anyway. But I just want you to understand, just disregard everything I'm saying because it's not professional opinion whatsoever. But I can see. I want to word this right, so I'm not taken out of context or. So yeah, the glasses are coming off now. I'm really thinking with these kind of situations, I can see how a person coming from an abusive household that is religious based might go on. They could go on to either absolutely reject all religion, or they could go under the idea that, why does God hate me? Because I have such a horrible life. Why am I being punished? Or I'm being punished because maybe I'm destined for a greater thing. Maybe God has a plan for me that's greater than, and this is my suffering. This is these are my trials that I'm going through. And I'm speaking, I guess, from my personal experience. So take that as it is. Growing up, it was taught that like you go through all the bad stuff that happens to you is because it's to make you stronger for something else to come, so you can overcome it. Which I never understood. Why not just create me stronger from the start so we can bypass this bullshit, or give me some factory training. I would love that, but that's not what happens. So I can see this going a whole bunch of different ways. And maybe this is influenced from pop culture too, from books and movies and TV series where you see this kind of thing. I can think of, I don't know how well this fits, but Carrie, the movie Carrie, the mother was highly religious and pressed upon her daughter, and her daughter went out and wiped out everyone anyway. But
okay. Who was the real monster in that movie? It was not Carrie.
Yeah. No. It
Carrie
was everyone else. It was the mother, the bullies, the people at high school, everyone.
Yeah.
The fucking assholes. They were horrible.
Even as a kid, I remember just being like, fuck yes, Carrie.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome work.
Because we all thought about that. Us geeks and nerds thought about it, like, yeah, I would do that. I'd take them all out.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if that movie fits in perfectly, but yeah, I can see this situation going many, many different ways, depending on all the factors involved. Like if they were brought up not so strict, but got stricter as they got older because of the age group. When you're young, you're taught strict religion, but as you get into your teenage years, now you're growing up, developing, noticing other people, and I can see the rules becoming stricter and the punishments becoming more severe. But that religion is already ingrained into your behavior, your psyche, your whatever, and maybe it's like, why does God hate me? Why do the angels not help me? Why? Rather than maybe this doesn't exist. So that's my piece. I'm done tapping out.
All right. So Bob, I'm just saying, I'm going to jump in just for a minute, just so Bob knows. Like, I wrote down just a whole topic idea, put a star around it. If we dare try to do trauma and paranormal beliefs. Woo.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a big one.
But John, what do you got?
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say, while you're writing that down, Tim, this is something I actually have a lot of experience in myself, because of the fact that I was so heavily indoctrinated into religion and went through personal religious traumas myself, and where I ended up. So some of these questions, at least for me, I can answer. For instance, the whole, I guess to go back to the original question first and foremost, for me, I wasn't searching for religion to not be true because I wanted some kind of freedom from that. It was a lot of I wanted religion to be true. I wanted God to be real. I wanted these things to be real for the bigger aspect, but the smaller things, it's like it's not so much that I didn't even want to be wrong. I wanted it to be, what's wrong with me? Why am I the broken one here? It was never, at first, for the longest, for 25 plus years, it was more of a what's wrong with me kind of thing. It was never maybe something's wrong with my religion. And it took a lot of going from different religion to different religion. It took a long time for me to be like, okay, well, maybe religion's the problem. It was maybe my religion's the problem. Maybe my belief is wrong. And then move from there. So for me personally, I never seeked out the disproof of my belief in a God. It was more just the more I tried to look into things. Okay, well, what about this religion? What about that? and it kept chipping away until I got, which circles back to the last question, which is kind of cool. That I wanted to mention was what really broke it down for me with the baggage, if you will, was when I saw it was fucking Kinham and Bill Nye. What would change? What would it take for you to change your mind? And Bill Nye said evidence, and Kinham said nothing. Nothing could change his mind. And at that point, I was like, you know what? Maybe this whole religion thing is fucking completely wrong, and started into my skepticism. So I don't know if that answers that question specifically, but that's my personal background with that.
I had a similar experience growing up because, my mother is very, very Catholic and very devout, and she would always give me this impression that I would have these great experiences, or you would feel this, you feel it in here all the time, and I never felt anything. Like I do all the processes, all the rituals, and don't get offended, religious people, but they are rituals. I did everything, and I never felt anything. I never felt like a different presence or grace. Like grace to me was something you were supposed to feel when you got it, and it never happened. I felt pretty much the same way I felt when I'm sitting in an empty room seeing if a ghost would talk to me, and nothing happens in either case. I mean, that was just my personal experience, and it just never. And I felt the same way, John. I mean, I felt like, what's wrong with me? Why are these other people, like my mom, the priests that I talked to, the people at school, the nuns, all these people are having these experiences or feeling these things. I don't feel shit. What's wrong with me? And, it's not like I didn't believe when I was younger. I totally did, but I just didn't have these. And that kind of helped me with my breaking away from religion and more the skeptical attitude, or the just agnostic and or atheist attitude, because I just didn't, there's nothing to it for me. And so I just wanted to relate that to you, because you're not alone. I felt the same way growing up. But all right, so I'm good. Next.
I'm good. Let's see. We got another one from Tiffany. How many times was Vickers before it became a verb? I think maybe, I don't know, but it might have happened after the Godfather incident.
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah.
Just because that was so funny.
It just developed. It just evolved. It wasn't like 3 times you're out. It kind of developed and evolved over a short period of time, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know I don't know. It just seems like probably the Godfather event was.
Tell us about that, Tim.
The Godfather of the Paranormal was at a Para-Unity conference 3 years ago now.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to know how he identified. I'm sorry, let me get that.
Spirit attachment.
Yeah,
right?
I wanted to know the mechanism of a spirit attachment to an object. That's it. Like, what is it? What is it that makes it stick? At least give me your idea. And when I asked that question, he turned and walked away from the booth and ignored me. So I guess I was Vickard. And I also quickly realized that he didn't know, and he would rather walk away from me than try to at least engage in some type of civil discourse or discussion with me about the things that might happen and cause an attachment. And it didn't happen. So that was a lot of fun. I don't know. Did you see it happen, Kenny? Were you watching when?
I don't. No. I think I walked over right after it happened. Mm-hmm. I think I was walking towards you when he walked away, because I remember seeing him walk away, and I think I mentioned something like, you're talking to him. How'd that go? And you were like, huh.
Yeah. It was an honest question. I would want to know his information. He's an expert in the field. I think that's, people would qualify him as an expert in that field. He certainly has, on many documented occasion on television, has alleviated the hauntings of a person. So what is it? At least, even if he would have said, I don't know, that would have carried far more respect than just walking away from me and not even giving me an answer. And I am more than happy to an answer to a question of I don't know. I don't know is the beginning of an adventure. It's not the end of a thought process. It's the beginning, but he didn't. So much for that. Let me go ahead. I popped this one up by mistake. Sorry. Number 4. Do you think that there can be too much of a recreation? Recreation. Oh, shit.
Whoa.
Hold on.
Stop the coffee.
Let me get another drink here.
No more coffee for you. Flag on the play. You're getting a yellow flag. Yellow flag.
I need to get my cards out. Actually, what I used my break for was to go get more alcohol. So
yeah, so did I.
It's just going to get worse from here.
So this is actually in reference. So she followed up. I think she gave an example like Ben Hansen when he did Fact or Faked. So I think that's what they mean, like too much recreation in these TV shows. At least that's what I'm going with. And for me, yes, absolutely, and that actually fits in with the idea of the biases and beliefs and how perceiving data or interpreting data through your beliefs and biases that we're talking about on the show. Because a lot of these recreations that we see on these paranormal reality shows, are highly dramatized. Highly dramatized. I mean, I can't emphasize that enough. How dramatized they are, and it's overbearing. You're getting the perspective of one person that is not only remembering the story, but they're on TV now. This is their chance to be on TV. I'm not saying that is the sole reason why they might embellish facts or stories, but it's definitely something to consider because it gets them on TV. And it really does have an effect. So I would say these recreations, they're sometimes helpful, but I only find recreations really helpful when it's like you're recreating an alleged experience, but you're trying to figure out what really happened. The ones that I see are always dramatized so much that it's just watching a soap opera. It's not factual. The people either can't act or overact, and it checks me out. I'm done. I don't want to watch it anymore. So yeah, I think there can be. I mean, if they do it right, maybe just to give you an idea of what's going on along the story. Yeah, but when it comes to the main event, sometimes it's just that's when they lose me. So, but John, what do you think?
I think this goes back to the storytelling thing, and the fact that we are so more prone to go towards something that makes more sense emotionally than it does logically, even if it means to say I don't know. And not to mention when even if we are doing the whole memories thing, we do know that when you recall memories, every time you recall something, you're adding something else into it from your own perspective at that time. So that's to me another issue. And then where I was going with the storytelling was the more details there are. For me personally, I think it's a little. I'm going to be a little more critical, skeptical when you're explaining something because it seems to me like you've told this story in your head so many times that you've gotten every possible question down to where, well, if they ask this, and here's the answer, and I could go ahead and preempt it here. So I don't think that it gets rid of credibility or whatever. However, for me, when someone has a lot more details than I think is necessary, I'm going to start, okay, is this true? Or how did you come across this? Like, what made you think that kind of thing? I'm going to be a lot more skeptical about it.
Tim?
I was on the fence of which way she was going with it. If when we were talking about redoing experiments or redoing people's accounts of paranormal events, either way, I would imagine at some point, if you're going to replicate an experiment, especially a paranormal experiment, I mean, that's good. Do it. If you can do it, keep doing it. I think more data in different locations, probably the better. There might be at some point, if everybody keeps getting the same result, you probably want to look at how can we keep getting the same result. Why? I think you would expect at some point for somebody to have a different result. It would be really kind of odd for me for everybody always to get the exact same result. I don't know, but I think that would be really weird to be 100% successful in a test. Other than that, maybe if there was something changing, or if you looked at someone's test and someone with a greater advanced skill than I do, like if I come up with something for a way to test something, and somebody that has a far greater degree of expertise and experience than me looks at mine and says, "Ooh, here's a rookie mistake. You did this wrong," then sure. I mean,
right.
I would redo it, and I would hope other people would redo it.
So Taryn does follow up and says, and when I say that, I say too much, I mean for one certain incident, not as a whole. I'm not really sure if that clarifies it or not.
Maybe. I don't know. I think hearing, though, on the television shows, I think that there's probably creative liberties. I'm going to go with what you guys say. There's music added and stressful sounds, and you don't know how exactly it was. You don't know the exact lighting. It would be hard to replicate that.
Right.
And it would be hard to get past the creative stuff that a director or a producer or an actor would want in it to elicit the responses of being scared or in a scary situation. So
right,
it'd be difficult.
So I guess, I'm thinking more and more about what she said, and she actually gives an example of the person on Fact or Faked, and I'm thinking maybe, when alleged evidence is obtained, like say for a video. So I remember there was one episode I think I watched where they had a lady in white walking like through a room or by a room. And on the show, they try to recreate it. But I don't believe, and I may be wrong on this because I'm going from memory and it's been a while, but I think they set up a different camera at a different height and then did it at a different time of day. So it was during the day rather than at night. And that kind of recreation, I think, is important, but not the way they did it. I think it's important to try to recreate events like that are captured, but by using the same equipment. And at the same time, you always want to recreate something under the same conditions, which means in that case, you use the same camera, the same time of day. You try to look around to see if there's a suitable replacement for maybe a figure that you saw, like same height, same size, whatever. You can't just change things. You can't change cameras. You can't change angles because different resolutions, different perspectives, wide angle versus narrow view, such like that. So there's a lot of things that come into play. So if you recreate that and then other people come in, other ghost hunting teams come in and try to recreate it too with their own equipment, yes, then there is too much recreation because no one's using the same conditions that the original video was obtained. So again, that's just an example, and so I can go both ways depending on what we're talking about. Hey, Tom. Wonton in the house.
All right.
We good with question? We're good with question.
We're good.
Wow.
We about feeling good?
Peter Rabbit, you got anything else?
No, I don't have.
Okay.
I'm gonna. There's one other topic, not really topic, question that I wanted to get to. I was curious of your guys' thoughts on this.
Fire away.
So there was a study I came across, and it was talking about actual psychological propensities that there's more of this type of thinking in the research. And it went back to the question why I was asking if you guys had any idea what the I guess I should have premised it with in the United States, clarified it was the United States. But this research, and I can share later where I got it. It was multiple papers, but most common things that these people had that believe in the paranormal, and that's including ghosts, telepathy, the afterlife, psychics, all of that, is actually, it's funny, Kenny was brought up the white people, but it's actually, yes, it is low income, highly religious white women. It even went down to the sex that are more apt to believe in these types of things. And something else that was correlated, and again, I hate to always have to bring this up, but you have to. Correlation is not causation. And there was people that are the lower educated performers, people that score lower on tests, and et cetera, are also higher on that list. So I'm just curious of your guys' thoughts on possibly why you think that is.
I don't know. I would have to see the paper. Honestly, I will.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd want to read that for sure.
I think I'm going to take a stab at this, and again, I'm going to watch how I say things because we could really fall into some really bad territory here. But I've come across information that reflects what you're mentioning here. However, like I see when it comes to paranormal beliefs, it depends on what the polls are polling, who the polls are polling. And we really have to look at the sample size of that too. Are we talking a few thousand people, or are we talking, tens of people, or maybe a few hundred? So we have to look at that across the board. Just basic observational anecdotes on my part are, when it comes to paranormal beliefs, males, white males are really in there with the technical side. They love their gadgets. White females are more on the psychic, metaphysical side of it. For example, when I went to Lilydale, it was 99% female, white female that were not only living there but participating and visiting. I think I saw it was me, Donna. We went with another couple, and there was maybe one other guy that I saw there as I walked around the entire town. But I think that's the norm, the average norm for that. Low income, or not low income, but low educational factor can be a point of, because there's not, and again, I want to say this right, low education leads to higher belief. And I think the more education you have, the more critical thinking sneaks in there and becomes part of that learning process through the higher learning process. I mean, you have to, when you're doing your thesis and the research that you have to do, everything leads to that, and it can dispel some beliefs. But what I think about that overall, I agree with Tim's quick statement there. We'd have to see the study and what they're looking at here. But I think I've read pretty much the same information, and I don't know what else to say about that. So Tim, passing it to you.
Yeah, I would really, before going too deep like you, I would want to see what they did, and see how they came up with what they got. I don't know. I guess from a personal experience, if you just kind of looked around in my, in going to paranormal conferences and thinking and trying to remember who I saw there, what was the crowd like, what was the mixture like, what was the male, female, or they combination versus each other. I don't know. It would be very interesting actually to see that, but I would want to read the paper before I got into getting into too much of going down that rabbit hole, which I would probably end up going down that rabbit hole for sure. It is interesting.
Would that be, so I see something here, supernatural sociology, Americans' beliefs by race, ethnicity, gender, and education. 2022.
Ooh, that's new.
March 2022, yeah. I'll have to look up, what's the abstract here? Oh, is the whole paper?
Hey!
Holy shit.
Whoa, that's like finding dark chocolate in a bag of candy.
I'm sending everyone the link because I don't know how I got that. Here's the link coming through. Hold on, wait, paste, damn it, before it goes away. That's
the government's listening right now. Oh, there it is.
I'm like, what? I can scroll down and it's more than the abstract. Holy shit. Most recent nationally representative survey to examine fears of and beliefs about supernatural and paranormal phenomena, including ghosts, hauntings, zombies, psychics, telekinesis, Bigfoot, or Sasquatch, Atlantis, and extraterrestrial visitation. This research examines how supernatural beliefs vary by race, ethnicity, gender, and education after adjustment for other demographic characteristics and religiosity. Religiosity? Is that that?
Religiosity.
Religiosity.
Drink.
Shut up, bitch.
Recreation.
Okay. So that's that. Oh, is this the from you, John?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see.
Bob would like
Paranormal
that.
beliefs. There you go. I'm gonna add this into the chat room too. So this is the study from John. Going to you. Going to everyone. All right. So I got that up. I'll look at that too. Is this the whole thing too? Oh, introduction. Look at that. We got all of it. Oh shit. Results. Methods.
Dependent variables or even
I tried to do Dave right, and I pulled a couple of fucking really in-depth.
Dave will be proud. He'll be like, "Oh wow, you got studies and shit." All right.
Dave would be really happy. It's got a graph.
Yes. There's lots of numbers.
There's graphs here, and they're different colors. All right, let me save this. This is another show idea, so I'm going to bookmark this.
Sure, Bob. Let's see. Oh my goodness! All right,
there we go.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to look at this a little bit more.
This would be a good paper to discuss.
Yeah. Limitations. Oh, all right. So this, we use the self-constructed scale for the assessment of paranormal beliefs. Although our scale is not yet formally validated, we could successfully replicate a bulk of correlations reported in the literature. Yeah. So there's a lot to unpack here. To go through. Yeah, so I don't see, where does it say white? White female. Oh. White.
You finding it?
No.
This is, I think Dave will enjoy this one.
Let's see. Female? Okay. And a sample of 599 participants. Oh, I remember this.
Oh, I remember this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
I started reading it. I was like, why couldn't they just make it 600? That killed me.
60% female, aged 18 to 81 years. That's a big range. So I would have liked it to be more even, but it says the resulting model explaining 19% of variance consisted of, wow, that's a lot of big words. I'm not going to try this.
Yeah.
I'm not feeling confident.
Not after rum.
Confidence is not high at the end of the show. I'm not going to repeat what that says. So
I've already messed up recreation, so
that was good.
I'm drinking more.
Like recreation. What are you fucking reading?
I don't know.
All right. We're at an hour and 45 minutes. Damn, John. You take a long time. They make a show.
Hey, do it right. Nothing.
So, are you good? You cover all the topics?
Yeah, not all of them, because something I was telling Tiffany earlier. It's like the more I dove into this to try to get a proper thing for the show, the more it's like, well, fuck, now I need to go learn this, and it's like it just
right. So that's why we try, if it's going to be a deep topic that we need to actually research, then as soon as possible get the topic out so we have a few days. But normally it's like Saturday I wake up and all right, what's the topic? I got to start reading. let's get into this. Yeah. So, but I honestly, I mean, in full disclosure, I didn't do any reading for this. I was like, let me see where he's going to go with this, and we'll learn as we go. So, but it worked out good. We had some good subjects to talk about. So, I guess we'll go with closing statements, and I'll just go first.
Go first.
Yeah, go first. This was a good topic. I like how we were pretty much all over the place and didn't stay with a narrow point of view. We just kind of went different directions and then reeled it back into the main topic. Their beliefs do have a huge influence on how we perceive the world. We do filter it like a coffee filter. We filter everything coming in through our beliefs and our biases. So I think the most important takeaway is to look in that metaphorical mirror. Look at yourself. Look at what you're doing. We want pizza, Melissa.
Oh, yeah.
I'll make some sauteed mushrooms too.
Sauteed mushrooms. You're making me hungry. Damn.
Look at yourself. Look at your work. Look at what your beliefs are before you put it out there, and ask yourself, am I leaning too much towards myself, to what I want it to be, rather than what the information actually told me? That's really, really important. Because if you're not doing that, then you're doing yourself and everyone else a disservice. So definitely look in the mirror, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Bam, baby. Got it in there.
Pistol fingers on that one, man.
Yeah. With that, passing it off right down there.
All right. There is not a whole lot I'm going to add to that. One of the things that came to my mind while I was listening to you was, to make sure that your beliefs aren't guiding you to what you want it to be. Also, make sure your beliefs aren't guiding it to what you don't want it to be. It's the try to do something as best as you can to let the data just fall where it is, and then see where it takes you. Sometimes it's boring. Sometimes very rarely is it exciting, but it's difficult. It's more difficult than I think people understand. It is very difficult. It's so just to let it go, let everything to let it go, and let the information run. I don't even know if it's possible to actually set up an experiment and review data and interpret data without some type of bias. I mean, that's a big question. Like, is it even possible for that? And I won't go there completely because it's really late. But the thoughts of quantum physics come to mind. How our observation of an experiment might influence the experiment itself. And that's all I'm going to say. Everybody can just have fun reading up on that. So I'll close it there and I'll send it up to Mr. Rabbit.
All right. So yeah, my whole thing with this was pretty much just wanting everybody to understand, like when we're looking at different things, whether it be signs or whatever, that each of us has our own different filter that we view it through, and mine might be different than yours, and vice versa. And just that we have to be able to address these biases and try to find what we think is the best, for us. And if you're going to try to come with the facts, then yep, totally fucking lost it. But yeah, basically, we all have biases, and whether we be trying to tell the truth, or if we think we're conveying the truth as we saw it, it might not have been the actual truth. To me, I don't think there's any capital T truth. I think truth is something that evolves as we learn more. We get better techniques and whatnot to try to find the best story of reality. And I think that's what a lot of it boils down to, is storytelling. And I think the scientific method is the best way that we have to look at these claims.
Cool. All right. What do we got coming up, gentlemen? Tim.
I am going to be at the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash in just a couple weeks-ish.
Yeah.
Going to get to hang out with everybody. I hope everybody comes. I keep saying that, but I hope I get to see as many people as possible. I look forward to making some really good friends and getting to see people and have a good time.
Awesome. I have also the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash coming up. It will be our 100th episode. We're excited. We can't wait. We're going to have a booth set up at the Bash. And so if you're available, if you're in the area, if you can come on and hang out with us for the weekend, by all means, come on out. We're going to be there all weekend. And it's a great party, but it's also fun to see everyone and hang out and to explore. You get to explore different people and different beliefs, different biases, different everything, and get their input.
Yes.
So I also have, let me see, I got to get my stuff up here. So what am I doing that day? That looks weird. What am I doing there? Oh, Bolton Mansion. I forgot. Bolton Mansion, I think September 10th has a fall festival, which is actually pretty cool. Bolton Mansion is in Levittown, Pennsylvania, and it's alleged to be haunted, but they also have this fall festival with some food trucks and vendors, and it's nice. It's not a paranormal event, but it's just like an outdoor fair kind of thing. So if you're in that area, I might be there. So hang out. I plan on being there because it's on my calendar. And then the big one I have coming up is October 20th to 23rd. I'll be in Las Vegas, Nevada at SciCon, which is the official science conference of Skeptical Inquirer magazine. I'll be speaking at the event, and I know there's going to be a whole bunch of people that I am excited to meet. Neil deGrasse Tyson is going to be out there. He's speaking.
No pressure.
I know.
Shit.
No pressure.
No pressure.
Other people that I know and that's been on my show, Susan Gerbeck is going to be out there. Melanie, oh my gosh.
Well, you're in trouble.
King. I always get now I got to look it up. Hold on. I'm pausing. So Tresick, that's it. I'm sorry, Melanie. Melanie Tresick King will be, I think she's coming out, and I had her on the show. She does the Thinking is Power website.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Very awesome website. I love it. And she's awesome. I mean, I talk to her quite often, and she's going to be out there. So lots of people. I think JD Short is coming out.
Yes, he just messaged he's going to be there. That's going to be great.
So he's going to be there, and you're going to have a lot of people, and it's just a great environment. Plus, it's in Vegas. So, and it's important because Vegas might not be there too much longer. So you might
Saw
with the drought.
that, yes.
Oh my goodness, with the drought and like me going down and all the, there was a lot of problems. So this might be one of the last times. So I'm getting out there. And there's other things in the works. I have this little show on Friday nights at 8 p.m. I don't know if you're, if you ever seen it or interested. It's called Skeptical Help Bar. Oh, look, he's got a sticker.
That's right.
But come join me next week. Friday, I have a guy coming on. We're going to be talking about Bigfoot. So he's a skeptic guy. So we're going to be talking about a few cases and a few things having to do with Bigfoot, Sasquatch, and that subject matter. So come on in and have a couple drinks and join in. With that, John, what do you have?
So, Sunday, tomorrow night, I have the show called Let's Learn Shit. We all sit down and
Good show.
We learn shit. Yeah, thank you, Tim. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
This week, I was planning on doing some stuff about mental health, and especially how it's related to PTSD. However, I might have to put that one off because the rabbit holes with this show. So I think tomorrow is going to be more of a ask me anything kind of thing. I'm going to bring some recent science articles up that have interested me, and
Okay.
we'll go from there.
Heck yeah, man. That's the way to do it. Just keep your shoulders loose, keep your elbows in, roll with the punches. Yep.
Shake it up.
That's right.
All right. Oh, look at him doing
Yeah.
a little James Brown dance.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
All right.
All right, we're done. Don't fuck this up.
I will.
Here we go.
More than likely. I'm looking. Closing.
Here we go.
29 seconds. Here we go. Have a great weekend, everybody.
See you later.
See you next week.
Don't for Charles, don't for Charles, with the real, this was the name, with the real, Bigfoot is real, don't question me, stay missing out, stay missing out, those that are roots, hiding on TV, don't for Charles, don't for Charles, don't for Charles, don't for Charles. And all what you say, oh, you'll get to bed.